What a get by Nicholas West in the Wayward Sons, making their VCW debut.
Gavin Jacobs with the red beard and Garytt Lee with the gray beard. We have not seen the Wayward Sons in professional wrestling for 2.5 years.
What a duo that Nicholas West was ever able to find here for this tag team tournament. And the reputation that these two men have coming into Victory Championship Wrestling. You mentioned those 3 favorite teams. I think we might see a 4th now.
Walking into VCW in their very first match as part of the tag team title tournament. High pressure, high stakes for the Wayward Sons in what I believe is their first professional wrestling match in 2.5 years.
Now the question is, with that time away from the ring, are they coming into it with a bit of a disadvantage? And particularly with the Wise Guys on such a roll here in VCW. Other than that tables match, they had a dominant streak in 2022.
2 big men who are very agile are the Wise Guys, and we are about to maybe hear something else from Adam Montgomery.
And ladies and gentlemen, the Wise Guys opponents making their return to the Ohio Valley, the Wayward Sons!
You hear the ovation here in McMecken for Gavin Jacobs and Garytt Lee. They know the reputation of these 2 men. Gavin Jacobs actually training Garytt Lee in professional wrestling. Quite an interesting history for this duo.
That would be Brutal Tommy Irish with the green suspenders. Gino DeCapo, the boss, in the gray and suspenders.
Oh, and the Wise Guys getting the jump in there on the Wayward Sons. As we've talked about in the past, the Wise Guys always competing not just for success, not just for glory, but to not face retribution from the higher-ups.
Yeah, they are representing the family and all that that implies. The main men, as it were. And that's Garytt Lee flying through the air off the back of Gavin Jacobs.
Quite the lariat there by Gavin Jacobs. And now, wait a minute, up under the shoulders. Could be finishing this off early.
Super duper kick. And right in there, muscling him over, was Brutal Tommy Irish. Great timing by the Irishman.
Not waiting a second, Tommy Irish knows that the Wayward Sons could have ended that right then and there. And this was a team in the Wayward Sons that was kind of formed from sort of rebellious circumstances. These were 2 men who were beaten down in singles competition over and over again, taken advantage of. So their unit is really formed out of protecting one another.
They're scrappy brawlers, but they know how to use every style when they need to, making them great opponents for the Wise Guys, who are also big men who do some unconventional things with their bodies.
Absolutely. I would say the Wise Guys, one of the most fearsome teams, just simply in terms of the athletic acumen that they have for being such big competitors.
The Wise Guys were engaged in a brutal war with the Rad Boys. They seemingly sent my friend Rad Rex to swim with the fishes in a tar pit, but I'm so happy to announce that Rad Rex, the totally awesome Tyrannosaurus, is still back with us, the very last of his kind. We don't want to see an entire species go extinct thanks to these Wise Guys.
You know, my short time here in VCW, I've never seen you more overjoyed than when Rad Rex made his return, Jason.
You know, in my long life, I've never been less miserable than the moment that Rad Rex returned.
Oh, miscommunication here by the Wise Guys. Gino DeCapo just ate Tommy Irish's boots.
Garytt Lee is in now with a series of drop kicks rocking Gino DeCapo.
I would say Garytt Lee definitely the more agile of the 2 Wayward Sons. And we're seeing right here in full force. Oh, but Ripper Blackheart with a trip of the foot.
We've seen Ripper Blackheart before on freelance business trying unsuccessfully to capture the Beastman. Managed to escape the clutches of Papa Dingo and is back out here performing his real job as consigliere to the Wise Guys.
And Ripper Blackheart has made it known that he wants to dominate all fields here in VCW. We talked about how we've spent the last year crowning our first VCW heavyweight champion, and now the tag team division is in Ripper Blackheart's sights. And
he keeps going with this shoe.
Maybe a little more effective here on Garytt Lee than it was on Beastman earlier in the night.
Yes, a human skull is going to be far more sensitive than Beastman's.
And Ripper Blackheart hiding the evidence as the wise guy, so smart in the ring as tag team competitors, knowing how to cut off the ring in half, knowing to keep Garytt Lee as far away as possible from Gavin
Just be clear,
Jacobs.
when you say hiding the evidence, you mean putting back on his shoe.
I mean, it's a great hiding spot.
Yeah, he just got dressed. And now grabbing him by the beard. Ladies, I don't know if you know this, but the beard hair is some of the most painful hair to pull.
I don't even like anyone getting near close to mine, let alone Ripper Blackheart getting full handfuls of it.
It hurts. It's so tight to your face.
Oh, Gino DeCapo with a big elbow drop there. Cover just how quick Gino is.
The main man now looking to punish Garytt Lee, try and make him submit, cutting that ring in half. A lot of negative things you could say about the personalities of the wise guys, but as tag team wrestlers, they are so effective, and they have proven to be so good here in VCW.
Garytt Lee trying his best to fight out from the much larger Gino DeCapo, but Gino with just possibly a closed fist there right to the gut of Garytt Lee.
He's got those gloves. That means he's working. It means he wants to leave no evidence, allegedly, allegedly, allegedly.
And now right into the corner of the wise guys, exactly where they need to keep Garytt Lee in this matchup. Tommy Irish, oh my God, big discus lariat.
Tommy Irish coming right in, no hesitation, great timing, so much mass.
The frustration on the face of Tommy Irish, they can't get too out of their heads in this contest. They already suffered that big loss in the tables match. That's one more loss than they would have wanted here in VCW.
It's not really fair of me to be surprised constantly by just how quick those two wise guys are, and yet it always catches me off guard to see how swift they move at those frames and those sizes.
Tommy Irish trying to wear down Garytt Lee with his weight here. But it's so hard for a competitor like Garytt with his size to fight up against somebody, the massive Tommy Irish.
And now Gino DeCapo tagged in, the boss, calling the plays. Gonna try and keep that ring cornered for Garytt Lee. And this is the first time Garytt Lee and Gavin Jacobs have tagged in a long time. They know each other very well. They were tagging well before the wise guys ever entered the world of professional wrestling. I believe before they were in construction, in quotes. But ring rust is real.
And it's also almost worse when you're a tag team as well, because you're not just worrying about yourself and getting yourself up to ring shape. You're worried about the communication with your partner.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. The timing between two people is so much more persnickety, let's say. There's a lot more variables that you have to worry about. And there's a lot of trust. There's so much trust in tag team wrestling.
And now Garytt Lee having to fight off both wise guys here between a rock and a hard place.
It may seem odd to say, given the personality of the wise guys, but to be a great tag team wrestler, you do have to have a little bit less ego. You need to be okay with being a team, with trusting another person.
Oh, wow! Moonsault there by Garytt Lee.
A moonsault combined with a knee strike. Garytt Lee, his knee slammed into the skull of Gino DeCapo, making that even more effective than it would have been if it had been a simple press.
This is the moment that Garytt Lee needs. Gavin Jacobs, you can see on the apron, just jonesing for a tag here. And if he can get it, oh, wait! Is that Ripper Blackheart out on the floor?
That's why they pay him at least the medium-sized bucks and bigger bucks if they win. And Ripper Blackheart now being chased away. Has he done enough to be effective?
Big sidewalk slam there by Tommy Irish.
Gino coming up.
No water in the pool for Gino DeCapo, and neither for Tommy Irish.
And now, Gavin Jacobs pleading, almost begging his partner Garytt Lee to make the tag, and he does.
Gavin Jacobs coming in with a house of fire. Shot for Tommy Irish and one for Gino.
Gavin a little bit more intense, a little bit more of a pounder than Garytt Lee, as we're seeing here. And Gavin tagging himself back in, blind tag. I'm not sure the wise guys are aware.
And
oh
now
no.
Ripper Blackhawk up on the apron, who's already stuck his nose in tonight way too much.
He's managed to find his way back. And Ripper Blackheart has now been knocked to the ground, neutralized yet again. It'll continue to be a 2-on-2 contest.
Tommy Irish now with a hold of Gavin Jacobs, and oh my God, just peels him right into the turnbuckle.
The whiplash of those legs hitting the turnbuckle pads, that impact, that very short, sudden impact, that sends a jolt through your muscles. That can cause spasms. That's why it's so much more painful to hit the ropes on one of those snap suplexes.
Oh my, double cutter there by Gavin Jacobs. And keep an eye on Garytt Lee now, top turnbuckle.
Going up top, big swanton bomb pressing down on both men. Both wise guys covered. The Wayward Sons just won.
Your winner for the match, advancing in the tournament, the Wayward Sons.
I gotta think, Jason, that's a bit of a bracket breaker.
The Wayward Sons walked into VCW for the first time wrestling in 2.5 years. They were a mystery team. The wise guys could not study, they could not prepare. And the wise guys, one of, I think, the top seeds of the tournament, bracket busted indeed. The Wayward Sons are moving forward.